Why can Japanese children sit quietly in a restaurant while Western ones run, scream, and challenge every request? Why does a 5-year-old in Tokyo carry their own backpack, clean their desk at school, and apologize when they make a mistake, while here we battle over every simple task as if it were a wartime negotiation? The answer isn't in genetics. It's not luck. It's in something Carl Jung called the internalization of authority. And it's in 7 secrets that Japanese parents apply every day, without realizing it, shaping children who don't obey out of fear, but cooperate out of integration. Have you ever stopped to observe the difference between obedience and cooperation? The child who obeys out of fear is constantly watching the adult. They wait for the moment when no one is looking to do what they want. They wear a mask of submission that hides a shadow of rebellion. The child who cooperates out of integration acts differently. They don't need surveillance. They have internalized a sense of harmony. They act with respect because they recognize themselves as part of a greater whole. That is the difference between external control and internal authority. And that difference changes everything. In the West, we were taught that discipline is imposing limits through force. The loudest voice wins. The punishment that hurts the most teaches the best. The most judgmental glare corrects the fastest. But Jung discovered something disturbing about this method. He realized that authority imposed from the outside creates a fragmented psyche. The child learns to obey the external voice, but never develops their inner voice. They grow up depending on someone to control them. And when that someone isn't present, chaos returns. Because the discipline was never integrated. It was only repressed. The Japanese understood this for centuries, long before Jung formulated analytical psychology. They understood that a child needs to feel they belong before they can cooperate, that they need to be seen as part of the family harmony, not as a problem to be controlled. That healthy shame, a sense of collective responsibility, and respect for interdependence are far more powerful tools than yelling and punishment. And because of this, their children develop what we call an integrated self. A child who knows who they are, recognizes their role in the world, and acts with natural dignity. Do you want to know how this works in practice? Do you want to discover the 7 secrets that make Japanese discipline so effective that children seem naturally calmer, more respectful, and more self-controlled? Then get ready, because what you are about to learn will challenge everything you've been taught about raising children. It will confront the way you were raised. And it will require you to look at your own parental shadow, recognize the patterns you inherited, and consciously choose a different path. Because raising an integrated child requires parents who are willing to become integrated first. Now I want you to look in the mirror. How many times have you yelled at your child this week? How many times have you lost your patience because they didn't obey the first time? How many times have you said the exact same words your parents said to you? Those words that hurt you, that made you feel small, inadequate, never good enough? And how many times did you swear you would never do that, but you did it anyway? Do you recognize this pattern? This is the parental mirror. The child you're raising today is absorbing exactly what you absorbed as a child. The same wounds, the same fears, the same feeling that love is conditional, that respect comes through force, that being seen means being perfect. And as long as you repeat the pattern, the child suffers. Not because you are a bad person, but because you are unconscious. Notice how often you treat your child as an extension of your ego. How often their tantrum embarrasses you in public, not because they are wrong, but because you feel you are being judged as a parent. How often you demand immediate obedience, not because the situation requires it, but because you need to prove you are in control. How often you punish not to teach, but to unload the frustration you've accumulated all day. That's not discipline, that's projection, and the child feels it. While you project your shadow, their self cannot flourish. Because they are too busy trying not to disappoint you. They are too busy wearing the mask you demand. The mask of the obedient, quiet child who doesn't bother anyone, who doesn't question, who doesn't fully exist. And then you look at them and wonder why they are so anxious, why they explode out of nowhere, why they lie, why they are defiant. And the answer is in the mirror. They are replaying what you have passed down. Japanese parents understand something fundamental that Jung spent his life trying to teach the West. They understand that a child is not an object to be molded. They are a developing self that needs fertile ground to grow. And that fertile ground isn't control. It's belonging. It's emotional safety. It's the deep feeling that they are part of something bigger than themselves. and that their behavior affects the whole, not out of fear of punishment, but out of a love for balance. Have you ever noticed that Japanese children rarely throw tantrums in public? It's not because they are repressed. It's because from a young age, they are taught to feel the harmony of the group. They are taught that their feelings matter, but that there are times and ways to express them. They are taught that being part of a family, a community, a society, means considering others. And this isn't imposed. It's cultivated, day after day, with patience, with presence, with example. Are you ready to stop controlling and start cultivating? Are you ready to recognize that the obedience you seek will not come from the fear you impose, but from the harmony you demonstrate? Then continue, because the 7 secrets you are about to know will completely transform the way you relate to your child. There is a fundamental psychological difference between the child who obeys because they fear punishment and the child who cooperates because they have internalized a sense of responsibility. Jung called this the development of internal authority. In the West, we raise children who depend on an external voice to know what to do. In Japan, they raise children who develop an inner voice that guides them even when no one is watching. Think of it as the difference between a garden that needs fences to keep it from being destroyed and a garden where the plants grow naturally, respecting each other's space. The fence is external control. The natural harmony is internal integration. And the way you raise your child determines which of the two you are creating. The Japanese use a concept called amae. Amae is loving interdependence. It is the understanding that we are all connected and that our actions affect the collective. From a very young age, a Japanese child learns that they are not an isolated individual competing against the world. They are part of a web of relationships where everyone depends on each other, and this perception completely changes how they behave. While in the West we teach radical independence from an early age, pushing children to do everything on their own, to be strong, to not need anyone, the Japanese teach that needing others is natural and healthy, that asking for help is not a weakness, that considering the group's feelings is not losing yourself. And paradoxically, this education based on interdependence creates more self-confident and balanced children than our obsession with early autonomy. Jung realized that the human psyche develops through the mirror. A child builds their sense of self by observing how they are seen by their parents. If they are seen as a problem, a burden, a constant source of frustration, they internalize that. If they are seen as an essential part of the family harmony, a valuable presence, someone whose contribution matters, they internalize that too. The parental mirror determines the self the child will build. And here is the secret that changes everything. Japanese discipline doesn't focus on punishing wrong behavior. It focuses on cultivating right behavior through example, healthy shame, and reinforcing belonging. Healthy shame is not humiliation. It is the natural feeling of discomfort when our actions break the harmony of the group. It's what makes us want to repair, to improve, to act differently next time. And when a child truly feels they belong, they don't want to break the harmony. They want to contribute to it. This doesn't mean that Japanese children never make mistakes or test limits. It means that when they do, the focus is not on punishing them to make them feel pain. The focus is on restoring harmony. It's about talking about the impact of the behavior. It's about giving the child the opportunity to make amends. It's about treating them as someone capable of learning, not as someone who needs to be tamed. Do you understand the difference? This isn't about being permissive. It's about being conscious. It's about nurturing the child's self, not just controlling their behavior. And the 7 secrets you are about to know are the practical application of this philosophy. The first Japanese parenting secret is patience as presence. In Japan, parents don't react immediately to a child's behavior. They observe. They breathe. They allow the child's emotion to exist before intervening. Because they understand that a tantrum is not defiance, it's communication. It's the child saying that something is unbearable inside them, and they don't yet have the tools to name it. When you react with yelling, you teach that emotions must be repressed. When you respond with presence, you teach that emotions can be felt, named, and integrated. A Japanese child learns from an early age that their parents will not emotionally abandon them when they are in chaos, and that creates security, and security creates cooperation. The second secret is collective responsibility. From preschool onward, Japanese children clean their own classrooms. They serve lunch to one another, They take care of common spaces, not as a punishment, as participation, because they are part of the group and the group depends on them. In the West, we outsource everything. The child doesn't clean because there's a housekeeper. They don't serve because an adult does it. And then we complain that they are spoiled. But a spoiled child isn't one who receives too much. It's one who never contributes. The Japanese child develops a sense of purpose because from an early age, they know their effort matters to the collective. The third secret is healthy shame instead of destructive guilt. There is a profound psychological difference between these two emotions. Guilt says you are bad. Healthy shame says you did something that is not aligned with who you are. In Japan, when a child makes a mistake, the focus is not on making them feel inadequate. It's on making them realize that their behavior affected others. It's about restoring the connection. It's about giving them a chance to make amends. And when a child makes amends, they don't carry the wound. They carry the lesson. In the West, we use guilt. We humiliate. We yell that the child always does everything wrong, is always disobedient, always disappoints. And then we wonder why they grow up thinking they are never good enough. The fourth secret is the silent example. Japanese parents know that a child doesn't learn from what you say. They learn from what you do. If you yell, they will yell. If you lie, they will lie. If you are disrespectful, they will be disrespectful. It's useless to demand behavior from a child that you do not demonstrate yourself. And here is the part that hurts. You want your child to be calm? Observe how often you lose control. You want them to be respectful? Observe how you treat your partner, your parents, strangers on the street. You want them to be responsible? Observe how often you blame others for your mistakes. A child is the most honest mirror there is. They don't reflect what you preach. They reflect what you live. And Japanese parents know this. That's why they focus on transforming themselves first, because they know that the child's transformation is a consequence of their own. The fifth secret is the language of belonging instead of the language of threat. When a Japanese child misbehaves, the parent doesn't say they will abandon them or that they don't love them anymore. They don't use affection as a bargaining chip. They say something like, "This hurts our harmony." They name the behavior's impact on the group. They keep the child within the circle of belonging even when they make a mistake. In the West, we use emotional threats. If you don't obey, mommy's going to leave. If you keep this up, no one will love you. Daddy doesn't like children who cry. And the child internalizes a terrifying truth. Love is conditional. They are only accepted when it's convenient. And this creates a wound they will carry into every relationship in their life. The Japanese child learns they can make a mistake and still belong. That the mistake doesn't break the bond. And that is liberating. The sixth secret is teaching self-control through practice, not repression. Japanese children learn to wait, to control impulses, to delay gratification, but not through severe punishments. Through daily rituals that cultivate patience. The tea ceremony teaches presence. Martial arts teach discipline. Organizing personal belongings teaches internal order. These are all practices that develop the capacity for emotional self-regulation. In the West, we expect the child to simply obey without ever having taught them how to regulate their emotions. And then we get angry when they can't control themselves. But self-control is not a gift. It's a skill. And like any skill, it needs to be practiced. Japanese parents know this. That's why they create daily structures that strengthen the child's emotional muscle. The seventh and most powerful secret is nurturing through connection, not separation. In the West, we punish by putting the child alone. Go to your room. You're in timeout. Think about what you've done. And the child internalizes that when they make a mistake, they are rejected. That when they need connection the most, they are isolated. The Japanese do the opposite. When a child makes a mistake, they move closer. They talk. They restore the bond. Because they understand that inappropriate behavior comes from disconnection, and you don't heal disconnection with more disconnection. You heal it with presence. The child who feels they belong even when they make a mistake develops emotional resilience. The child who is isolated every time they fail develops toxic shame. And the difference between the two is stark. These 7 secrets are not techniques. They are a philosophy of life. They are the practical application of a truth that Jung discovered through decades of studying the human psyche. The child becomes what the parents mirror. If you mirror control, they become submissive or rebellious. If you mirror harmony, they become integrated. If you mirror belonging, they become secure. If you mirror presence, they become conscious. There is no shortcut. There is no magic technique that will work if you are not willing to look at your own shadow and transform it. Do you see now why Japanese children seem more obedient? It's not because they are repressed. It's because they have been included. They have been seen. They have been taught that they are part of something bigger and that their actions matter. And when a child feels this deeply, cooperation becomes natural. It's not forced obedience. It's conscious participation. Now that you know the 7 secrets, the question is, how do you start? How do you apply this in your home with your children today? The answer is not in changing the child. It's in changing you. Because all parental transformation begins with self-observation. You need to become the conscious observer of your own patterns before you can change the family dynamic. Get a notebook. For the next 7 days, you will do an exercise in parental presence. Each day you will observe one of the 7 secrets in your relationship with your child. Not to judge yourself, not to blame yourself, but to see. Just see. On the first day, observe your patience. How often do you react immediately to your child's behavior? How often do you breathe before responding? Write it down. On the second day, observe responsibility. Does your child contribute to the harmony of the home or only receive? Do they participate or are they served? Write it down. On the third day, observe your language. Do you use healthy shame or destructive guilt? Do you say, "You made a mistake and we can fix it together," or "You always do everything wrong"? Write it down. Continue this for 7 days. On the 4th day, observe your example. Do you demonstrate the behavior you demand? On the 5th day, observe your emotional language. Do you use belonging or threats? On the 6th day, observe how you teach self-control. Do you provide tools or just demand obedience? On the 7th day, observe how you handle mistakes. Do you connect or separate? This exercise will reveal your parental shadow, and it will hurt, because you will realize how often you repeat the patterns you swore you would never repeat. How often you project your frustrations onto your child. How often you demand a perfection from them that you yourself do not achieve. But the pain is necessary, because you cannot integrate what you do not see. And only after seeing it can you choose differently. After the 7 days of observation, choose one of the secrets to practice intensely for a month. Just one. Don't try to change everything at once. If you choose patience, practice breathing before reacting. If you choose collective responsibility, include your child in household chores as participation, not punishment. If you choose connection, commit to never isolating your child when they make a mistake. Practice until the new pattern becomes natural. And then choose the next secret. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens in the daily repetition, in the conscious choice, in the moment you realize you are about to yell and choose to breathe, in the moment you are about to threaten and choose to connect, in the moment you are about to punish and choose to teach. Each of these choices is an act of integration, and with each conscious choice, you are breaking the cycle. You are creating a different mirror for your child, a mirror where they can see themselves as capable, valuable, part of something greater. Jung said there is no transformation of darkness into light without working on oneself. And conscious parenting is exactly that. It is the most brutal and most sacred work there is, because you are shaping a psyche. You are planting the seeds of your child's self, and those seeds will determine the adult they will become. You've made it this far, and that means something in you has already changed. You can no longer parent in the same way. You can no longer yell without realizing you are projecting. You can no longer punish without questioning whether you are teaching or just unloading. You can no longer demand blind obedience without recognizing that you are creating a fragmented child. Because now you know, and there's no going back once you know. The 7 Japanese parenting secrets are not rules. They are invitations. Invitations for you to look at yourself with brutal honesty. Invitations to recognize the patterns you inherited and consciously choose to break them. Invitations to parent not through control, but through harmony. Not through fear, but through belonging. Not through separation, but through connection. The child you are raising today is not a project. They are a self-information, and the kind of self they will develop depends directly on the mirror you offer. If you mirror chaos, they internalize chaos. If you mirror presence, they internalize presence. If you mirror conditional love, they learn they must wear masks to be accepted. If you mirror unconditional love with healthy boundaries, they learn they can be who they truly are and still belong. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be conscious. You don't have to get it right every time. You have to recognize when you get it wrong and make amends. You don't have to have all the answers. You have to be willing to learn alongside your child. Because parenting is not a position of superiority. It's a shared journey. And the wisest parents are those who recognize they are raising their children while their own inner children are also being healed. Now I want to hear from you. Which of the 7 secrets had the biggest impact on you? Which one did you recognize as the biggest shadow in your parenting style? Comment below. Share your reflection. Because when you name the pattern, you have already begun to break it. And when you share, you inspire other parents to do the same. If this script sparked something in you, if you felt that someone finally put into words what you felt but couldn't name, like this video, share it with other parents who need to hear this message. Subscribe to this channel to continue this journey of conscious parenting. Because everything we do here is about awakening. It's about integrating. It's about raising children who won't need to spend decades in therapy undoing what they learned at home. The journey is just beginning. You are now the conscious observer of your own story. You are no longer the repetition. You are the cycle breaker. You are the clean mirror where your child can see themselves clearly. Let harmony be the path. Let the child flourish. And remember, true obedience doesn't come from fear. It comes from integration. And integration begins with you.